Okay, so Assalamu alaikum, everyone. We are continuing our study of the 29th word. We are on the second aim. We've been studying it for a while now. Last week we read the 6th and the 7th point. And I think shortly maybe the 8th point. So I will start back up with reading of the 7th and 8th points, and then we can go forward, inshallah. The 29th word is focused on the immortality of spirit, angels, and resurrection. And the second aim has been about resurrection specifically. So far, we've been talking about proofs for why resurrection has to happen. So just kind of like intellectual and logical proofs for its necessity. So if anyone has any reflections from last week, please go ahead and share. And if not, I will start reading, inshallah. Okay. If at any point you have any questions or comments, you can raise your hand and or send a message in the chat either to everyone or to me or Sarah, and we'll try to share it with the group, inshallah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala ali Sayyidina Muhammad. Seventh point. All the exquisiteness, all the virtues, all the perfections, all the attraction, all the yearning, all the compassion, known and seen in the universe, are meanings, significations, immaterial words. They necessarily and self-evidently show to the heart and thrust in the mind's eye the manifestations of the all-glorious Maker's favor and kindness, benevolence and munificence. Since there's a truth, a reality in this world, most certainly there's true mercy. And since there's true mercy, there will be eternal happiness. The fourth truth of the 10th word, and also the second truth, have illuminated this fact as clearly as daylight. I saw a quote this week. It was from, I think, a poem, and it was about how the poet had never seen an animal sorry for itself. And there was a lot of kind of discussion about this concept. So when we see animals, they can be upset, but this idea of being sorry for themselves or feeling these things that are more traditionally human feelings, it's generally us projecting it onto animals. And I've been kind of thinking about that this week because some of what we've talked about so far has been about, the infinite potentialities, the hopes, desires, inclinations, and what they are pointing us towards. So here we have exquisiteness, virtues, perfections, attraction, yearning, and compassion, known and seen in the universe, are meanings, significations, and immaterial words. So all of these things he is characterizing as the all-glorious Maker's favor and kindness, benevolence, and munificence. I didn't actually check, I was meaning to. The yearning in the original, do we know that word? Because I feel like in the English it has a bit of a negative or tragic connotation. And it can be kind of hard to see those wasted potentials or yearnings as
İştiyak.
ishtiyak.
Mhm.
Do you think yearning is a good example, a good translation?
It's not easy to translate. For instance, there is tarahhum. Tarahhum is not compassion, but how can you say tarahhum? It's related to rahma, but
Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Yumina. Would it be, Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Would it be, yeah, thank you, madam. Would it be, would it be like we say kindness out of consideration or regard?
you mean for compassion?
Right, like like when we see, for lack of a example, like if somebody is hurt and we can see that that person is hurting in their hands, or they cannot continue doing what they're doing, and one of us says, let me do it. Maybe you're hurting, let me do it. Let that feeling, like the mirror neuron feeling, that that person must be hurting, I must step in if I'm healthier to take over and lessen some of their pain. That kind of mercy, compassion, empathy.
I mean, the word here is tarahhum is a response. It's already a responding with compassion. It's not compassion. It's acting in response to something with compassion.
I see, I understand. Thank you.
Dr. Yamina, can I also get clarification on the other words? So in the first sentence, this author, rahimahullah, Imam Said Nursi, was experiencing this in such a complete way for him to say all the exquisiteness, all the virtues. I just looked up the word virtues to see, like, well, am I seeing virtue? Like, I can yani, have some experience of something being exquisite, but again, that's a beautiful word. I'm wondering the original or Arabic meanings of exquisiteness, virtue, and the word immaterial words too. I was unsure of that.
Immaterial is معنوي. كلمات معنوية. I mean, because it's معنوي is not easy to translate also. Some words don't have a direct equivalent in Western languages. I mean, at least in English and in French. معنوي comes from معنى, from meaning, but it's not spiritual, but it's not only immaterial. It pertains to meaning from that perspective. Yes, it is immaterial, but it's more than just immaterial. It's not easy to translate.
And what are meanings then? Meanings, significations?
Meanings is معنى, and signification is مضمون. Meaning, signification, that's easier to translate because there is a word for it. But how would you say something معنوي in English?
Hmm. And virtues?
محاسن.
Mm. And perfections then?
Perfection is perfection. It's must be كمالات. Yeah.
Oh, subhanAllah. So, I'm sorry, and did we say exquisiteness?
لطائف.
Wow. That's completely different.
So it's not only exquisite, it's also like subtle beauty, subtle exquisiteness.
Yeah, no, that changes everything for me. So I was sitting with just the depth of his language, and if I'm being honest, I sit with his small paragraph, which was our homework, to sit with the paragraph and just think, sit with it for the week. And my only question was, do I see the world in this way? And in honesty, I could just say no. Do I see exquisiteness? I mean, that for us, at least in the English language, exquisiteness points to something absolutely stunning. So in a typical Brooklyn neighborhood, for me, it was very difficult to really feel like I'm being honest and sincere with the word exquisiteness. Am I really perceiving this? He's speaking to guide our perception. But now the word in Arabic is lata'if, which has to do with the word latif, like subtle, noticing the subtlety of perfection in a way.
Perfection and beauty.
Mhm. The subtlety of perfect beauty. And that's in everything, like the tomatoes, for example, that I was interacting with today. I paused and I just looked at them, at the color, at the just everything about it. And I know Noor Banu pointed out the beautiful example of the tomatoes. I mean the grapes on the vine. So yes, that word is completely different. And yes, to the comment in the chat, we can put these words, and thank you, Dr. Yamina, for clarifying. So then all of the virtues, mahasin, which has to do with something husna, and that's also extremely different than virtues, which has to do in the English language with morality.
Because in Arabic, mahasin is used usually for, and in Ottoman Turkish as well, for beauty that pertains to material beauty outside, but also to beauty of akhlaq and beauty of interactions, beauty of human social life. And it's not only used like Jamal.
Which is very clarifying, because virtues as just sort of a code of morality is one thing, but then to see the original word that he was inspired with, which points to the beautiful interactions that we have, that's so much more experiential and relatable on a day-to-day. That makes more sense to me. And did we say the word for attraction? I don't have that one.
It's attraction.
Which makes sense, because then all of them are sort of intertwined and not just separate things to observe. So the exquisiteness I'm just looking for exactly how I translated that. Okay. I'm going to pause and see if anyone has anything they want to share while I reflect on that.
Maybe Noor is longing better than yearning. Ishtiyaq is something that you long for, that you.
Yeah, inshallah, next week I can prepare for the session and I'll have the words from the original. We can also probably read the comparative text. There's just so much text then on the screen, so I'll see what's best. But
You can only if you feel there are other words that could also be added to add some clarity to the text.
yeah.
Like yearning, you said it may have a negative connotation.
Mhm.
So maybe longing, like ishtiyaq, it's like a strong desire, a longing. And I guess a yearning if it doesn't have any negative connotation.
Yeah, what's interesting to me then is, like Sarah was saying, all of these things, he says, known and seen in the universe are meanings, significations, and material words. And then by virtue of seeing the world this way, they necessarily and self-evidently show to the heart and thrust in the mind's eye the manifestations of all glorious Maker's favor and kindness. So it really starts with how I know and see the world around me. Because, yeah, go ahead.
He's using known and seen because some of these qualities, we may not see them with our eyes, but we experience them. So they become known as experiential knowledge. And remember, through these points, we want to order.
Yeah.
Necessitates eternal happiness. And then it was a lack of waste. And then it was mercy, rahmah. And now it's becoming more subtle and more like it was more general. Now, if we are truly not only reading the words like we read the newspaper, the news, if we are reading as with the intention of tarbiyah, so whatever we read the whole week, we are reflecting on, then we will find ourselves, our focus will start focusing more on within us and around us is easier. And then we start seeing all this exquisiteness, this beauty, the perfections. It's once you have that intention, you will see it everywhere. You take, as you said, a tomato, you're walking outside, you see the leaves, the dry leaves, even your hand that's holding the tomato, the fingers, how they know how to hold it, and you can just watch, and everything is so perfect. So if we are present with what's going on, there is no way not to be in awe. And this is not something that we see, something that we, this witnessing, shahada is something that we live. That's why he's saying known and seen. in the universe. And clearly, when we start witnessing it and living it, it is so meaningful. It's speaking through everything. Because the way, when we are in that mode of focusing on what's around us, we are made aware of how interconnected we are with everything else. And so the speaking, the meaningfulness, we will experience it. So whether you call it words or speech, or it is meaningful. And because we know it, because it doesn't feel meaningless. It's actually so meaningful that we're attracted to it. We long for it. It's part of who we are. Heart is involved. That's why it says it shows to the heart, because it's feeling. And once we experience that and we feel it, then in the eye of the mind, it's clearly something meaningless does not move us to this point. It is not central to who we are, what we seek in life. And especially that it is related to favor, kindness, munificence. These are all things that are very central to who we are as human beings, to our needs. We have basic needs, and these needs, the most important things, together with meaning and purpose, is this kindness, which are all these things are describing rahmah in a way. That's why he's saying this is true rahmah. I'm not making it up. It is true. It is a haqiqah, this truth and reality, because in Arabic, haqiqi means true and it means real at the same time. If you say waqi', al-waqi', like reality, it's not the same as here. Here, truth in the same, reality in the sense of truth. We're not making it up. We are all sharing this reality. It's not my perception versus yours. We may experience it differently, but we all agree that this is fundamentally needed, that we appreciate it, that we are grateful for it, that it is beautiful, that we long for it, that we want it, we desire it. We all agree on that. So it is true rahmah.
I'm wondering, favor and kindness, benevolence and munificence. The words, the names in Arabic of those.
In Arabic, it is ihsan and karam, lutf, marhama, ihsan, karam. So again, because not only because of the Arabic language, because of the Quranic language, ihsan is has a deep meaning. Not only it's related to a name of God, but also ihsan is this giving freely without expecting anything in return, which makes the giving and the giftings beautiful. And it comes from husn, which is beauty. And al-asma al-husna, they're all related. And karam, Allah, it's also looks to God's name of Kareem, generous. And so it's generosity, munificence, you can say. And marhama is bestowing of the rahma in a rahma way. And lutf, maybe like grace, maybe grace, blessings, usually translated. Here it was translated as favor.
And so the sentence that follows, this all flowing, it's flowing more beautifully now. Jazakillah khair for filling in. And inshallah, you know, we'll sit with this and some more. So this talking about the haqiqi, the reality, the truth, he says, since there is a truth, a reality in this world, so is he saying, since we are, Annie, for those who are actually following and doing the work, doing the hard work in between and going back to my walk, to my interacting with the tomato or whatever blessings are given to me in the kitchen, and pausing with them and looking at them again. You know, we talk about his language that said before, the careful observer, which she's been saying point after point, using this language to known and seen, saying like if it's not known to you and you're not seeing it, then you're missing all of this, then you're not going to be interacting with his ihsan and his favor and his kindness. And that is such a human need, to feel safe and secure and to feel that meaning.
Otherwise, we say, yes, of course. Of course, Allah is Rahman, Rahim, Kareem. He is merciful, compassionate, loving, generous. But how do I feel in my life if I've never actually experienced it? It means there is no shahada, no confirmation. How can there be iman? How can there be belief? Here is not like in English. Iman is like that certain knowing in your heart, no doubt. That's iman. How can there be certainty of iman? There won't. And that's why if there is not losing my job, if the thought of maybe the possibility of losing my job can make me lose my sleep and lose my peace of mind, because I never questioned that the job is not the only channel for rizq, that the rizq, the provider, is the one providing through that channel. That channel is a means. And so because I never observed carefully, never intended, never made the intention, the choice to live consciously, to practice the shahada. That's why the shahada is what makes the difference between a Muslim and not. But the shahada is not just the word. The word are the key to start with, and the key afterwards to become a dhikr, a remembrance. Anytime I say the shahada, I remember what I have already witnessed, experienced, and so it reminds me to renew, because ما خلقت هذا باطلا. Allah has not created anything in vain. So it's not because yesterday I witnessed, and how about today? And ideally it's 24/7. But at least make it more and more often. Because remember, there is no neutral state in between. Either we are living with the remembrance of God, with the knowing that He is the provider, He is my creator right here and now, or not. At each moment, it's either or. And we say, but I forgot. Yeah, but we don't forget things that we truly know. There may be, how do you say, I may not be at the same level of awareness, but I can't be in forgetfulness totally, as if there is no Razak, for instance, in this example that I give. If I fall into that state, it means when I say that Allah is Razak, I'm not sure in my heart. I have never witnessed, I don't know God as Razak. Maybe I don't know who God is. I only have fitratan. We are created with that knowingness that there must be something. So we don't deny. In order to deny, you have to exert efforts. So I don't deny because I know inside that, yes, there must be something, but who is that something? Who is that someone? That's what the Quran is teaching us. And when we are not in that path, then we are in the path of darkness, of unawareness, of not knowing who God is. There's no in between. And when we start the path of awakening and seeking God, getting to know Him, and therefore awakening our humanity and living the purpose, fulfilling the purpose of our life, then at least if we can have the moments, the intervals of forgetting and living as if we have no purpose, as if there is no akhirah, as if this life is all there is, those intervals will start shrinking, and the intervals where we live in the presence of this exquisiteness, this everywhere seeing the perfections and interacting with this divine speech that speaks about gods, that glorifies God with His beautiful names, becomes more and more our default way of living, inshallah, in the presence of God, following the guidance of the Quran, inshallah.
It's such an important point to come back to week by week, month by month, year by year. And Jazakallah khair, Dr. Yamina, for being so patient with us. As you were speaking about this very simple black and white way of being, either we are witnessing bounty, munificence, perfection, exquisiteness, or we're not, which makes it very simple to self-assess. Either you are making shahada and seeing that, feeling it, right? Because he's saying it's known and seen. It's self-evident. What was the word to use? They necessarily and self-evidently show to the heart these feelings of favor, kindness, benevolence, and munificence. I'm either feeling it or I'm not. So for me, when you were speaking, I was like, well, that is a good way to look at my day, right? This is the end of the night. go back to your day and look at how much percent of it, in all honesty, were you feeling, well, first of all, experiencing exquisiteness. I like the words that we used, subtle beauty and perfection, beauty of interaction. So for those of us that are very closely following the news, because it's very hard not to be connected to this incredible compassion that pulls, talking about attraction, this incredible magnetic love that keeps us so deeply connected to other human beings who are suffering and in need. And then to witness people like mirrors channel such incredible love or qualities of courage, quality. So we're talking about the interactions now, the word that said virtues, beauty that pertains to the beauty of interactions, the beauty of human social life. So we've recently witnessed a young human being make a very loud statement of expressing such an internal need for justice and such a strong, and so it was so easy to allow these feelings to just completely consume us on the screen. And now if we pause back and review, nirega, right? Go back to the tomato, go back to your hands cutting the food, go back to the breath that you were breathing, go back to the young people that you saw on the screen and the way your heart was longing towards them. Go back to the people who you felt were so expressing such courage, or the people who finally airdropped, and all of the feelings flooding. Look now, the word all. Did we see for a moment? Go back. Such subtle beauty and perfection that feeling in and of itself is an indication. I'm gonna go say his words directly. Is a meaning, is a ma'na, is a signification. It's signifying a being that puts this feeling in you as an immaterial word. I love thank you, Dr. Yamina, for the Arabic kalimat ma'nawi. So for those who know, the words is the text that we're using, and he uses this as a parable. Words, kalimat. Every single act of creation is a word. That means your feeling is a word. And the word indicates communication, which indicates someone communicating to me through the feeling. So if we go back and we pause, I am just so flooded right now, especially with the news that just happened that filled me with such huge feelings that I didn't sit down to reflect on. I just allowed it to completely take over and come back to moments of peace, to almost catch my breath throughout the day of busyness. And then here we are reading a text that says, let's go back now and translate, right? Imam Nursi's text is a guide to interpret the happenings that were happening as subtle meanings, kalimat ma'nawi, of someone communicating with you. If I look at those things that happened in the news, and if I look at my breath, which I am spending more time with, just watching my breath. And so as Dr. Yamina was talking, I actually looked up the word munificence, because it's not something I use in my day-to-day. And the words for munificence, karam, as one of the qualities that Imam Nursi uses here. It says lavishly generous, bountiful, giving with great liberality. And you look at this breath, and for me, it was the first thing that comes, like, how bountiful and generous, how lavishly generous is it that I have abundance of it on a second to second basis. And then all the different colors and all the different foods and all of the feelings that pull me to care for people across the globe and to be so deeply moved by people who are aligned with being true to the way they're made, and how I love that. So I'm made to love when other human beings are aligned with that. And I take that for granted and I say, oh, what a beautiful person. How courageous was he? But that's kind of like the first level of just observing a situation. But if we pause with it more deeply, that virtue is mahasin. He says it's mahasin. It points to husna. It points to beauty and kamalat, perfection. That person was so like connected to this perfect need for perfect justice that it literally, yani, I'm going to pause and give other people space to share.
One thing that I find maybe a bit easier when I'm starting this reflection is, I say easier because I think starting with already complicated day-to-day events, it might be hard to see exquisiteness, virtue, perfection, attraction, yearning, compassion. Just because there's so much external kind of like interpretation of those events. But I was thinking while we were talking about the specific adjectives here and the names of the creator, right? So favor, kindness, benevolence, munificence. We're looking for subtlety, beauty. And I think of something that I take for granted in my life, and I just imagine if it weren't that way. So, one thing is today I had like a salad for lunch, and I had like cherry tomatoes, and I was cutting them up, and I had like avocados and stuff. And I was thinking just the way they mix together, you put salt, lemon, olive oil, whatever, right? So you make this mixture, and the colors are, I love it. It's very vibrant, the red, the green, and then the texture is very different. There's like, it's a pop of color visually, but it's also a pop of color in your mouth as you like get the different tastes. And I was thinking about like the subtlety, right? The exquisiteness. The food I'm eating that's nutritious for me is visually appealing to me. It's cute, the cherry tomatoes, especially. I just love them. They're like very tiny, and packed with all this nutrition. But then I was thinking there could have been another way for me to get all of that nutrition, right? If you've ever been to like a healthy smoothie place or something, they'll put everything you can ever think of in a smoothie, protein powder and different fruits and whatever, and they'll just make it into a sludge and they'll give it to you. And it looks kind of gray, and you don't see any of the different textures or colors or anything because it's all mixed in there. But they tell you, hey, this thing has everything you need for the day. It has all the vitamins and the minerals you need. You just need to drink 1 cup of this thing. So my entire life could have been spent like that, but instead I get to experience the individual and exquisite and subtle beauty in everything he has created for every different need. So it's not just like a cement block that I eat every day that meets all my needs. He meets all my needs in the subtle and gracious way. So everything he has made is made individually, packaged differently, appeals to a different thing. They smell really good. They look really good. So this, like when I think about something like that, it makes it a bit more easier to do this contemplation process, and then I can apply it to different parts of my life. But anyway, that's just something that I was thinking of. Go ahead,
Mhm.
Sarah. And Dr. Yamina, please.
Mhm. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. So, to start, it's not complicated once you've been taught how to do it, of course.
Mhm.
And it's not hard or difficult. It's only a matter of choosing and deciding and acting on it. Because we want to, in the beginning, we need to keep renewing that decision, that intention and slash decision, because intention can be misunderstood as I intend, means if I can, I will, and I may end up never doing it. No, intention means I decide and I act on it. I choose to do it. In the beginning, it's not going to be as so easy because we are not familiar with it. But our task, this is something that I always say, is to make this imani reflection, this way of conscious performing the shahada consciously, this intention to consciously follow the guidance of the Quran, the teaching of the Quran, apply it in my life consciously every day. I want to make this familiar, so familiar that it becomes my way of life, not something that I do during halaqah once a week. There's no point in having it. Well, it may be better than nothing, but the whole point is in meeting together is one, to learn, second, and once what I learn, I'm learning it in order to practice it. And we're practicing, so we come together to check on each other again. So it becomes like a collective prayer, collective dua, and encouraging each other. Otherwise, ghafla is by default familiar. We're familiar to it. We want to make that ghafla not only not unfamiliar, but the moment we fall into it, it's like falling into darkness. Someone who got used to some degree of light, because there are degrees, but even if it's not very light, once you start seeing things around you and then you fall back into darkness, things don't seem to have meaning. Things seem to just happen to me. I am just lucky sometimes and unlucky other times. And I'm just like working hard, going, running, and I don't know exactly what it is for. There's no true meaning. There's no lastingness in the meaning of what I'm doing. And I'm not even questioning that because it seems like I don't have the time. Of course, I'm not making the time for it. And suddenly now we have an alternative way, a meaningful way, a way that the heart is now involved. The heart is feeling this deep joy, this deep happiness that pertains to the worlds of meaning, the worlds of the unseen. I am getting to know my creator, suddenly getting to know myself, perceiving myself and everything around me in a new way, the more I practice this, the more this becomes familiar, the more when I fall into forgetting and start worrying and all fears and anxieties and everything, that's the darkness. It hurts, and suddenly I have something to yearn for, something I don't want to be here anymore, and I know how to go back. So the more that is familiar, the light is familiar, the more we won't want to indulge ourselves in being in that darkness. In the beginning, that darkness is our zone of comfort, and it feels okay, like there's nothing wrong with this. It's like in the Quran, like there are moments of light, but those moments of light are totally, it seems random. It's like from time to time we see something that's beautiful, and we feel that there is something deeper, but then we don't pursue it. In the Quran, it shows us how not to see something from time to time that brings awe into us. No, how to find in everything there's the beauty, the perfection, the attraction, the compassion, how everything is speaking. Wherever we start, it doesn't matter. The more we become proficient at this, at living consciously in the presence of the creator, the maker, the Rabb, the more we become proficient at witnessing Rububiyyah with around us and eventually within us, so that we surrender more and more. This is a process of surrendering. Otherwise, we just are at awe, but we don't surrender. We don't go into sajda, not only physically, but metaphorically as well. The more he is the provider, the more I am not. Someone else is not. La ilaha illallah. Because they come together, not one. The more we're familiar with this, the more that darkness will hurt, and we won't want to stay there. So if I say, but I always forget, I go there, this is a matter of consciousness. It means we didn't get it yet. It means I'm not even on the path, because this is not a matter of learning some information for an exam and then I may forget it. No, this is a knowingness and awareness. If you are a medical doctor, do you sometimes forget to go to the hospital? Or you go to the hospital, but you forget that you are the doctor? You don't act like a doctor? Or you are a teacher, you don't go to your job, or you forget that you are the teacher? No, because you already identify with that. And this is identifying with our ubudiyyah. To the extent that we know God as our Rabb, we will identify with our ubudiyyah. So it's not, oh, I forgot that I was a abd. It means you have not yet experienced that. You have not really known that. You just know it as information. That's not knowing. They told me I'm a teacher. I don't know what teacher means. Or they told me you're a doctor now. I don't know. I have no idea what doctor is. Let's say I don't have the notion. I don't show up at the hospital. And even if they put me there, I'm just going around, walking around. And I say, oh, I forgot. You told me you are the doctor, but I forgot. I don't know if you get the point. Here, it's something that is experienced, that we accept. We Surrender means we surrender to this reality. It means we accept the reality that I am being sustained now. I am being created. Then the more I practice this, the more, how can I, even when I forget, I'm not it's only a degree of forgetting. It's not becoming totally unaware. It's like the doctor was tired, was on the phone or something, and forgot to do what he had to do. But he didn't forget who he is or who she is. Inshallah. Just wanted to share that. So we make Iman is not information. It is an experience, a knowingness, a certainty.
Thank you. Thank you for that emphasis, Dr. Yamina. That's a time for us to really pause with the text and not just read it like a chapter book, but really go back to our lives and really, like you said, choose to schedule in. I know you always say hourly, just pauses to renew my intention to look and see, one thing around me and just pause with all that we're studying in this one little paragraph and pause with it enough until awe really settles that it is perfect. Nora, can you just scroll up a tiny bit? So there was a link into eternity in the last sentence here. So once we experience, inshallah, we pause with one thing, whether it's the hand or the tomato or the feelings that come, the salad, like Nurbanu was saying. And we do that throughout the day. So let's say there's 5 prayers a day, minimum 5 times before the prayer. We're pausing with something to really stay with that awe and then take that awe to the prayer to renew that commitment to face his bountiful loving kindness with an experiential feeling attached to it, and turn in that direction and say, yes, I'm committed to this path of seeing all things like that. Alia shared in the photo of bounty, seeing all things as bounty. So my question about the last sentence was true mercy. So most certainly there is true mercy. I know you touched on it, Dr. Irina. Which I guess what comes to me is, since I am observing these beautiful things that he talked about in the first sentence, inshallah, that we're doing the work, then most certainly there is a true mercy, means like a constant, permanent source of this ever-flowing rahmah, unconditional, lavish love being poured into me and into the world around me, and how important it is for us to constantly be interacting with that in an experiential way. And then my question was about, like, okay, so then how do you link this salad, for example, in Nurbanu's example, to eternal happiness? So he says, and since there is true mercy, since it is, if I'm seeing it as this tender love, kalimat ma'nawi, if I'm seeing it as a tender conversation, someone communicating to me that, yes, I'm made to love this, and yes, you're giving it to me with perfection, then it can only mean, like we were saying last week, that it's not like I'm giving it to you today and I'm gonna rip it from you tomorrow or upon death. It must mean that whoever's giving it is the sustainer of the universe, is absolute. It's an eternal promise. Then I can smile when I'm eating the salad, because it's not just today's lunch was yummy. It's yes, thank you. Like, I see you giving me another reminder of my real need for being loved on eternally. Is that like a reasonable bridge, you think?
Imam Nursi rahimahullah, he says, look at the tongue and the food and the tongue. Like this, it's a small need, like our need for nourishment. It could be, as Noor said, it could be just smoothie kind of thing. Think of the baby. When we're babies, it's the time when we need nourishment the most, and because the baby grows the fastest, right? And at that time, no teeth and no awareness of the food until few months. There is only milk. So it is possible that there could be one food that takes care of everything. Yet, Imam Nursi says, look at the variety. It's just so many plants, vegetables, herbs, so many kinds of food, different colors, different textures, different tastes, different smells. Not only that, we are given the ability to mix them together, to cook them, and there is also, we are given the key. The human tongue, it has all kinds of tastes we can taste, and we can remember them. It's not only the tongue itself, but all the nerves and the brain and everything. So we're given all the tools. It's like hands that can reach out and take what we need, interact with in this case, with the food. So we smell it, we see it, we enjoy the smell and the colors and the shapes before we even put it in our mouth. And then we put it in our mouth, and all these cells, we can differentiate between sweet and sour and spicy and hot, and subhanallah. How does it know? Not only that, we remember, we say, oh, this tastes like something I ate when I was a child. This is like something that I ate, I don't know where. Or this fruit reminds me of this other fruit. Subhanallah. So all this just for a need that does not need all this. So all this, it's not fuss, but like all this lavishness can't be just to feed this physical body. It is meaning, signification, words, speech. It is talking, telling about something else. Something much bigger is going on here, much more significant. And all this can't be just to, at the end, there is no future. If there is no lastingness, it means everything is like an illusion. But we know it's not. It would be meaningless here and now. Yet we have all these things which we can, the more we stay with this reality, we can see that right here and now they are pointing to eternal source of meaning, of generosity, of power, of wisdom, of right now. So this is true mercy. And if it is true mercy, then it necessitates eternal happiness. Someone is making us happy right now. And especially when you see smaller kids, you see how they interact with their food. It's we looking at them, we smile, makes us happy as well. It's actually beyond our imagination. Subhanallah, I can only go into sajda.
I was sharing yesterday with Yamina how I like certain scenes that show love as care. So how people care for each other, and that being a sign of love. So the examples of the ones that we see are like, you know, that I find that, oh, this is so sweet. You realize, okay, what, you know, this being touched by something sweet between humans is only to make us realize how we are showered by, you know, eternal folds by our Rabb. So some of the scenes that I appreciated were a scene, for example, of someone knowing that, you know, their beloved is walking a path. So then they light this path. They go out of their way to make sure this path is lit for them so that they won't trip. And aren't we? And aren't our paths lit? Like why would someone who would light your path, why would that feel more special than, like, why would we see this and feel it, but not whenever we see our path lit by everything around us of his creation? Why don't we feel touched that way?
We
And
don't
the
pay
same-
attention.
We don't pay attention. And the same
But,
thing.
Alia, something you said right now is the need, we are given the need, which is the key to appreciate the gift. So the
Yes.
gift becomes very significant, very meaningful, very valuable. So that's why we know with certainty, when we pay attention, we know with certainty that this is true. Why? Because the need is being fulfilled.
Yep. And that goes for like every other need, like the need to be cared for. And isn't our Rabb the one who's like, you know, I like, as if our Rabb is saying, you are my abd. I am the one who's caring for you. No one can care for you but me. Like, why are these words touching when they come from a human being who cannot even promise that? And why don't we
They
hear
can
them?
promise, but they can't really truly fulfill it.
Yeah.
Limited.
And why don't we actually see it and feel it coming from our Rabb, who's subserving everything, like who's actually carrying out this promise here, and the promise here is also carrying for the hereafter. Like why is that not even cooking? Like I remember my mentor from Egypt saying what would be, and he comes from a wealthy family and he has cooks, and Egypt people have that, and he says, what would you think, and this is him speaking to me using the same words, what would you think, Alia, if I go to the kitchen myself and make you a cup of coffee versus asking Muhammad, his cook, to do it? And I said, of course, I know that you're trying to honor me. And he said, yes, exactly. And when our Rabb says, I've blown into you from my breath, and I shaped you with my own hands, why is he saying that to us? What is he trying to tell us? Like, why do you feel touched by someone who's like standing up and cooking, and you cannot feel touched and really in awe of the one who said, with my own hands, I've created you. It's not that I created a dress for you. It's not that I created a meal for you. No, I created you and blew into you all of what you desire and need. And then I created for you the fulfillment of these desires and needs.
It's not that we are not touched. It's because we are not aware of this
Aware of it,
reality.
yeah.
Even if someone tells me this 100 times, if I have not witnessed it and lived it, experienced it myself, it's not going to touch my heart.
So I think what we need to do is to, like as you were saying, like to pause and think of this before Salah or prayer. I don't know, like how, one time, Yamina, you were saying in one of our discussions, what brings you joy? And you were asking each of us to think of what brings us joy, but also maybe what makes our heart flutter? What is that very precious thing that I need in my life? Maybe it's to be heard, to be seen, to be cared for, to be hugged, and then can I then pause there and realize, like actively realize that I'm already cared for, hugged, loved, carried, like totally carried by my Rabb. Like, I don't know, I'm just thinking maybe that can be the bridge into seeing everything like as a very, very special act of endless, lavish generosity, lavish kindness. Yeah.
What we focus on is not whatever we focus on will take us to our Rabb.
Yeah.
How? First, the intention to focus, and then how we focus. And this is what we're learning. In the beginning, it was convincing the mind, but now it's talking more about beauty, perfection. It's speaking to the heart. So it's not about sitting when we are observing. It's not about thinking.
Mm-hmm.
We learned the steps. Now, ta'ammul, tadabbur, tafakkur is contemplation. That's why we need to slow down. We need to slow down and focus on only whatever we decided to, whatever is that either we decide, or there are so many things that are attracting our attention anyway. We're just not paying attention because we think we are too busy. Just when we slow down and we are calm, things will attract our attention. They are speaking. They are already there doing. We are living in alam al-shahada. Everything is performing their shahada, glorifying their Rabb, their maker. And through their glorification, they are showing us. Remember in the 33rd window, 33rd word, the 33 windows, how things are attracting our attention, showing us, teaching us how to glorify together with them. The steps are given to us in the Quran. They are given us to this. This is a tafsir of the Quran. But in life, you just sit there with the intention, calm down. Don't be, if we have so many things that we're worried about, anxious about, even if someone comes and pulls me, I would say, leave me alone, I'm busy. If I'm just take that time, make istighfar, sit down, calm, and I see how everything around me is calling me. Here I am, look, my maker is this, is that. They are all proclaiming Shahada. They are all proclaiming the beautiful names of God. And the more I listen to them, stay with them, listen to them, the more I will learn and I will be part, I will echo and in response to them. I would say, yes, true. As Imam Nursi says in the 30 Windows and everywhere else, you will see that they are not beautiful. They are saying, I am made beautifully. My maker is beautiful. When we are busy, we say, oh, they are very beautiful. Okay. Buy them, leave them. I'm busy with something else. That's why they see the ayat, but they turn their back. They are busy with other things. What is so important, more important than this? Anything else pertains to transience. Cannot be more important than any matter that pertains to akhirah, to everlastingness, to eternity, to eternal happiness. Even the most worldly people are working for that satisfaction of the heart, of the soul, of happy, for true grounded happiness. So, and Allah is teaching us the shortcut. We're saying, no, I have to go and, go all around to come back. And it may be too late. I may not come back to that point to realize that everything else is useless without La ilaha, without God, without the owner of everything. Because every here and now could be the last. Once in the beginning, it may seem not easy, but it will be made easy because it is the fitri way. It is what will make the ruh, the heart, thrive. So it becomes easier and easier. Even if we have 30 years of ghafla, it will take 30 days of renewal of our intention to make this path easier. Allah will make it easier and easier, inshallah. We just need to encourage each other to stay on the path. Calm, make the intention, and just look around with this intention, with what we are learning. Where is the perfection? Where is the beauty? Where is the moment you say this, you will find it everywhere, inshallah. Unless someone, you see people, you tell them, look at your breath, look at your hands, they are healthy, everything is fine. They will go all over the other part of the globe to find something that's not working, a war or something, and say, so where is the perfection is that? When you understand the perfection in your breathing, in your food, in everything around you, then you will be enlightened with the meaning of other things. That's not good intention. So we're assuming here there is a good intention and a willingness to surrender to the reality that right now I am not in control of my breathing, of my life, of anything. I cannot make myself speak. I cannot make myself understand or see. I am made to. I cannot make the food, and I cannot make my tongue taste the food. So there are degrees. First, if I am appreciating the food and saying, oh, it tastes so good and this and that, okay, everyone does that. But as a believer, I need to surrender. If I'm saying I am tasting, I taste, I like this, oh, then it means we have to check ourselves. The renewal of the intention is the renewal to surrender to the reality that things are done unto me. This is something that we cannot escape if we truly are not thinking only, but actually reflecting, pondering, contemplating. When we contemplate, we will see that there is something in me is being consciously looking at all this, and it's done unto me. It's clearly not me doing it. Otherwise, we will say, yes, everything is nice, everything is nicely done. There are so many documentaries about nature and this and that, but nature is doing it itself. And if I'm doing it myself, nature is doing it itself. And it never goes beyond the worldly, beyond the transience. It's easy and difficult. It's difficult when we don't have the intention. It becomes very easy when we have the intention, we make the decision to surrender and not to hold on. It's a process. It's not going to, maybe some people will be able, Allahu Alam. The speed is not the same for everyone, but it doesn't matter. Istiqamah is what matters. That we are on the right path that leads to the right goal. Well, I don't know how would you say, destination, let's say, inshallah.
So what the homework, the heart work can be, I was gonna say at least 3 times a day. So before the Dhuhr prayer, the Asr prayer, and the Maghrib prayer. And especially with food, I think it's easy since Ramadan is coming. We're going to be withholding this bounty, which is a simple means of heightening the value and the experience of any blessing. And because we're seeing total deprivation of all food items to brethren across the globe, may Allah make it easy and grant them from his bounty. So if, for example, we set an alarm, and inshallah we can talk about it in the weekly contemplation. Well, first we intend to make an intention to really shift. This is a paradigm shift of the way of our being. Dr. Yaminas took time to express it so beautifully today, alhamdulillah, that this is supposed to change the way we live. This is not a chapter book. We are supposed to be experiencing steady shifts in the way that we experience life. And it turns into feeling the proof of bountiful love being showered and being lavishly given with subtle perfection that constantly, like an IV drip, it just constantly, if I'm witnessing life that way, it's just constantly giving me news of eternal perfection, which makes sense. But whenever I share like hard news or bad news or whatever with Dr. Yamina, she's like, immediately there's something inside that connects that says, Alhamdulillah, for the need for eternal perfection. And for that reminder, everything is, and this is the next word that we'll get to, 8th point next week. Everything is constantly flowing from this need, this attraction to eternal, just perfection, wanting beauty. Like Anya was saying, it's not what's that thing that makes my heart flutter. Like Dr. Yamina said, actually, if you pause with anything, your heart will flutter. And when your heart flutters, it's just that reminder of like perfection, subtle beauty, my longing for eternalness, eternity of it. And it is flowing right now. I'm getting the sample, and the sample's coming from the eternal fount. And it just feels like, even just saying the words right now, it just feels so good. And it makes sense that this is the tarbiyah, this is the training of how to actually live with this, which is not practiced, from my experience, outside of halakha. Islamic information is typically very knowledge-based, or like a temporary feel-good, pick-me-up sort of halakha. And this is not what we do here at Receiving Noor. Studying this text is supposed to be transformative, and the only way it'll be transformative is if we truly dedicate through alarms, like Dr. Yamina said, and little post-it reminders everywhere. We can start with the alarms, inshallah, to pause at least 3 times a day to notice 3 things, whatever it is that you're experiencing, and inshallah share. I mean, I think 3 is the minimum because we have 5 prayers a day. So at least 3 of those. Before going to the 3, at least we can sit for 5 minutes and ponder something. Inshallah. Jazakumullah khair. Nurbanu, do you wanted to add anything to that, or anyone?
Jazakumullah khair.
Thank you, everyone. Inshallah, we can stop here, and next week we'll pick up at the 8th point. As a team, I guess we will discuss whether we will continue the sessions during Ramadan, and if yes, at what time. It might just be a bit challenging with Taraweeh and everything, but we'll see and we'll let you guys know, inshallah. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر دعواهم أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. الفاتحة على رسولنا صلوات.